What's up, everybody? This is Real Talk with Casey and JoJo, and we are season 4, episode 2, with a special guest, RL Malpica. Congrats, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So excited.
Oh, I'm excited as well. I mean, especially since you threw the little accent on my last name too.
Malpica.
You notice that? I noticed the same thing.
I know it's going to be a good podcast now.
Yeah, I had to. Because you know why? A lot of the people that watch you on my end are
Right.
Spanish. So when they talk about you, they're like Malpica. And so that's how I hear it in my head.
Oh, man.
So that's how I came out.
Say it again.
RL Malpica.
I like that.
I know, me too.
I
Sounds
need you to
good.
record that or something. I'm going to use that as like a drop.
Like
and see
yeah,
the
when
shit
they
I
do that in the music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
for
tell
sure.
everybody a little bit about yourself. Like what I know this is a hard question because we not only have we been talking about like who am I?
Right.
So many different broad ways, but like what's your story? What is your story and where are you now? Like what's your timeline?
For sure. Anybody who's on this path to enlightenment, goes through something, right? There's usually that moment per se. But for me, like it was kind of like a bunch of moments. I grew up in your typical, religious based household, but it was like multiple religions. Like my mom and her side of the family were Roman Catholic. My nanny was like a Lutheran, and my stepdad was a Muslim. So I got like perspective on that from an early age, and that perspective was just a shitload of conditioning, right? And going through that, and also going with some things that happened within my family. Like it wasn't a happy household. My mom was always struggling or hurting, and her stepdad was emotionally abusive, physically abusive to her and me. So I became an introvert. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of went into a shell for a good portion of my teenage years, and never really felt comfortable with who I was. I'm a deep thinker, a critical thinker, all those different things, but I was never really able to have the confidence to ask any questions or truly figure out this thing called life. So I just went into a shell. Ultimately, met a girl who I considered like my validation of worth, and basically became manipulated and controlled by that individual. Ended up having a child at 17, graduated high school, grew up way too fast, and never really knew anything about myself until another relationship, to where once again I attached my worth to that individual. They took it from me. They broke up with me, crushed my world. And at that moment, that's where I kind of dug myself up through reading. I remember The Secret. That was the first book I read that really kind of started implanting some real knowledge into my head. And my daughter, as she was growing up, like, I mean, she just made me realize that, like, she made me realize I was conditioned. Because I remember I asked her a simple question, right? I asked her a simple question, and I said, and this is what parents do sometimes with their kids, and their kids are like, what the fuck are you telling me this for? She was like, I was like, she was my best friend. Like she was somebody I spent all my time with. And she just looked at me and said, okay, why don't you just go get another friend? And it's so simple, but like it hit me in a very specific way. Like she's totally right. And that mixed with The Secret, and just kind of reading more about self-empowerment, made me realize my worth. And I just went down that rabbit hole, and that journey of learning and learning and learning and learning and learning, until ultimately I realized who I truly was. I'm not an introvert. I'm not supposed to be in the shell. It's okay to ask questions, and you need to ask questions, and ultimately formulated who you see today, a person who's on this path to enlightenment, to learn more every day that I wake up, and spread that knowledge to everybody else.
I love it. So you became the it's like the what is it? The ugly duckling that becomes the swan.
Dude, it's so
The
funny, man.
transformation. Not that you were not in that sense, but you know what I'm saying as
Oh,
far as
no,
like
no, I got you.
the introvert to the extrovert.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny, man, because it coming in, I'm looking on Instagram and I get tagged in something, and it's about going through darkness, right?
Yeah.
And it, when in the first episode we talked a lot about this, and this is the reoccurring theme. It's like, and it's our story. It seems to be a recurring theme in these stories is that our path to enlightenment is usually ignited at our darkest moment, right?
Yep.
And it's funny how that theme for me today, just the universe showing me that, and then again your story, same thing, my story, her story,
And it's through
crazy.
relationships,
A lot of times, yeah. It's crazy. That's been such a prevalent pattern.
Oh yeah,
but it's
no, I
so
mean,
cool.
I can relive those moments because like they were so impactful at the time. Like, and I used to write music at that time. So and I haven't done this in a while. Maybe I'll do that sometime soon, but I have bags full of just like notebooks of songs, right? And the place I was in at that time, like I look at those lyrics and it's like it's crazy how different I was then. And it just makes sense of why I was feeling that and going through that at that time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what he said yesterday. The same
Same thing.
stuff, the same
In
Really?
exact
episode
stuff
one, same thing. Yeah,
about
true.
music
It's so
and
fucking
writing
true.
music and looking back at it and exactly what you said.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Recorded history, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, we evolve, we move on, and
So
we're
are
getting
you
it every
writing
day.
now? Do you still want to write? Do you still want to I know you're writing a book, is that right?
Yes, yes. I'm in the process of the book. I haven't put any like strict guidelines or deadlines on it. I'm just doing it organically as it comes. Because here's the kicker. While I'm writing this book, I'm learning more at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like I start writing and then I'm learning more and it's like shit, I want to put that in there too. I want to
It's
put
like
that in there too.
it's like the key. You unlock stuff as you go, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. And so that's kind of like, I said, you know what? I got a lot of things going on. Let me just let it come organically. Let me continue to learn, build it up. So when I do finish the book, like it's where I want it to be. And there'll always be
Or
times
you
where you
can
want
have
to
a
add
part
more.
1, part 2, part 3,
Truth, truth. That's how
Because
I
we're
need to
always
look at it.
growing, right?
That's how I need to look at it for sure. But yeah, eventually, yes, the book will be dropping.
So
Yes.
I'm curious too, because you had mentioned in your story about your how you grew up, right?
Right.
And you have a family now, right?
Yes.
And I'm interested to hear about how you grew up and how that affected how you parent your kids. You know what I mean? How you looked at what you received. Because I think you're a lot like me in the sense that I did that. Like I had that self-reflective moments with my own family to where it's like, I don't want this for them. Right. And I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Man, you're gonna make me get emotional upon
Let's
this.
go.
Yeah, right, right. Shit. Okay, so like I didn't receive like much love at all as a kid. Like just keeping it real.
Real talk.
Yeah, real talk. Like my stepdad was just not a good dude. You know what I mean? Like he had a heart, don't get me wrong, like he had a heart, but like he was like pulled in so many different directions and so much on him that he kind of projected that on my mom and on me, not so much my little brothers. My little brother's my half brother, and that's his kid, right? So I was the stepchild, you know what I mean? And I went through that emotional abuse for a long, long time. And I also lived within a family that, like on my mom's side of the family, they're just cold people. You know what I mean? Like loving, yeah, they're loving, but they don't show it. Like they don't show emotion. If you see them, they all got like resting bitch faces. Like everybody in that side of the family, they're just cold. Like Cleveland, Ohio, cold. Hey, we Rust Belt, blue collar. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of family.
Like they ready to
Um,
fight.
right. So you don't
Yeah.
really get a lot of emotion on that side, right? No affection, I should say, right? And then on my dad, like my dad was killed when I was 3 years old, right? So I never even I got like two memories of him, right? But his side of the family is small, and they're extremely affectionate, extremely loving, but I never really got to see them. You know what I mean? So like I grew up without any love, without any affection, any of those things. So like as a parent, naturally, it's not like I chose, not like I decided, okay, when I have a kid, I'm gonna be like this. It's just like naturally, all I wanted to do was be extremely affectionate and loving to my kids. Like that is probably the biggest, I wouldn't say lesson because I didn't learn it, it just came organically, but that's the biggest thing that I've taken from my childhood to being a parent, especially with my oldest, because I was 17 and it took me a while. Like at first, I wasn't a great dad because I didn't even know, I never had a dad, number one. I didn't have an affectionate family. 17 years old, I have a kid. I don't want to be with her mother because that just want to, I mean, just that's a whole nother podcast. Just wasn't going to work out, basically. You know what I'm saying? And trying to find myself at the same time, like I say this all the time, my oldest daughter helped me grow more than I helped her grow. Because she was a mirror. She was a straight mirror on me. And I learned so much being her parent, trying to guide her with this vision of I what I thought her life should be, and never let her truly be herself. And as she got older, she started coming out into who she truly was. And she's passed me by. I like one of my rap lyrics that I use is when I look at my daughter, I see a version of me, but she's a version of me that I could never be. Right. So like,
Nice.
what I'm saying, she
That
looks like
shows.
me, she acts like me, but she's taking it to that next level. You know what I mean?
Bro, and I think like that's how it should be, right?
Right.
Like,
Yes.
right, like to me, that's a testament of you as a father, man, just you as a
You're
person that,
teaching them to grow.
right, like they should be better than
Right.
us.
Exactly. They should. And that's what the generational, instead of generational curses, they should be like generational level ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like the whole Jesus saying, like what I can do, you can do and better. It's like
Yes.
that's the passing along of this is what I can do. Now you can do it too, but now you can do it even better than me because I just taught you, and you have all this. We think about that like our eating habits, for example, with our
Right.
kids. Like we didn't learn this until what, our 30s, or late 30s, and our kids in their teens are now eating better than we are, or at least our
Yes.
son is right now. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
amazing.
And it's like, wow, you're
Yes.
gonna be a breatharian by the time you're our age.
Right.
Seriously.
Hell yeah.
What is your take on the food and your family, and how that works, as far as like, you've gotten to the loving aspect of it and putting that
Yeah.
affection into it. Now then, what about the food? Because that
Def-
plays a big part.
That's a huge part. Especially in my family and in Hispanic culture, this, Joanna, like food is fucking everything.
Right. What time are
Like
we eating?
exactly. Exactly. And then if you don't eat, they're looking at you like you're crazy,
Right. Yeah.
and if you're full, they're saying, no, 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 eat more.
Eat
You need to
more.
eat more. Go ahead. You need to eat more. You're
And then they're
growing.
like, why are you fat?
Yeah,
Right.
it's same
Right.
in the other side of their mouth.
Mhm.
No, the food thing, that's, man, you want to talk about contrast in a lifetime. Like my oldest and my youngest are 17 years apart. You know what I'm saying? So you want to talk about parenting as completely different people, from how I parented my youngest to how I'm parenting how I parented my oldest compared to how I'm
Yeah.
parenting my youngest. And
That's kind
you
of
know, my,
cool to see, though.
yeah, except when you look back at how you parented your oldest and realize that, holy shit, I was feeding her just trash. Now, crazy story, she actually went vegan before I did, before I went vegetarian, and was part of the inspiration of me going vegetarian. She like challenged me. Now she's not anymore.
That sounds like Issa.
That's
Hopefully,
I
oh
have a
yeah.
very similar story. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice, nice. Well, hopefully, I'm hoping that she's gonna come back around, but
yeah.
we have time. She's young. But no, I think it's huge because that's a massive part of the conditioning. Like my entire family, especially on my mother's side, is just not, they're not healthy. Like each one of them. I went to Vegas with my cousin, and he's talking about how his mom is diabetic and his dad is also diabetic, and he's, you know, got high blood pressure and all these other things. And then I know my, you know, I've been trying to help my mom out with this because she's dealing with stuff, and you know, my brothers have dealt with stuff, and it's just like everywhere around you, and they don't want to, like, they're blind to the common denominator here. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing to get to this point, even though it's late, a little bit later in life for me, but to know that my 5-year-old daughter is growing up in a household that at least understands the power of food and what it means. Like, she may make her own choices as she grows up, you know what I'm saying? But her foundation is where it needs to be. And you talked about generational stuff. Like, then, like you said, when she's older, maybe she, you know, who knows how far she's going to take it, and then her kids, and then all of a sudden we've changed. Like, we've literally changed so many people because that tree, that those branches just get bigger and bigger and bigger. If the foundation of that, you know, is strong, you know,
and that's
Yeah.
such a, she's such a, it's in a sweet spot because she's under the age of 7, and it's like between the age of 1 and 7 is when you soak it all in. You know, we have the mirror neurons where we just mirror everything, and that becomes our subconscious mind of our programming from there on out. And so you're helping her build that foundation of a good programming of like, here's what you should eat, and here's what's toxic and not toxic.
Yeah, too. And I wonder, man, like, you know, as we kind of getting into the metaphysical world, but I know you dig this topic too. So it's like, you know, we're separating, right? Like, there's talk of us going into a higher plane of existence. Right? And I personally think that food is a huge part in that. You know what I mean? In other words, like, people who eat unhealthy, the manifestation is the denseness, which is the sickness and the disease and everything else, because, you know, we're expanding, we're trying to rise up in levels. So curious to see, you know, kind of, I don't know what you think about that.
No, I think, bruh, like, the more I get into this, the more I go down this philosophical path. I'm realizing that food is literally the foundation of it all to me. Like, that's my philosophy. Some people may not agree, and that's cool. We can talk about it. Because it's the foundation of you. So if we're all one, right, and we're all connected, and you are God and I am God and we're all God, right, then the beginning starts with you, like the core of you. And without proper food, like, that's your energy source. Without food, you know, you're nothing. You're on your way down. You're automatically declining. And what do they say? The minute you're born, you're already dying, right? You're on that march. You know what I'm saying? But that, it shouldn't be that way. We should be living.
It's like cells, right? If we look at each other as just cells, right? And each cell's properly working, then together, all the cells together, which make the whole, would properly, you know, work. But then as a cell within itself, you have all these parts that aren't working because what are we doing with the food? Right?
Yes.
Because the food
100%.
is what's either helping, like, healing or damaging our system, which is what we need in order to, even the ascension process, even this whole enlightenment process, like, we can't get there if our food is so dense that we can't, you know, it's so acidic, it's so, you know, physiologically it's just not possible.
Right. And I think for all of us, curious to hear what you think about this too, man, is that like, as my consciousness has raised, so has my food choices. Like, they go hand in hand. It's not like, you know, I'm up here in terms of consciousness and I'm still, you know, eating fried chicken. You know, nothing against fried chicken.
Right.
I would love to have some.
Oh my God, chicken. I smelled some today and it was so good. And I'm like, no.
I hear you.
But, I hear you. You know, I mean, I'm curious to hear what you think about that. Because, I think there's definitely a correlation. At least there has been in our journey.
Oh, yeah.
For me, and I think I've spoken about this before. I'm not sure it was with you guys or on another podcast, but like, the beginning of my true spiritual ascension stemmed from diet, because I always knew, like, there was always something telling me that I'll never be able, like, I'm not going to be able to have my true awakening until I give up meat. Like, and all the gurus, you know, Vivekananda and a bunch, and some other guys, and I know I'll be butchering all their names, so I'm not gonna say them.
Them other
we
dudes.
know all
Yeah, them other
them
dudes,
philosophers.
yeah, the consonants and the vowels and shit.
There you go.
The swamis of the world. But like, you know, when I'd read them, you know, which is really the basis of my spirituality, they'd all talk about it. Like, how can you become life if you're taking life, or if you're, you know, consuming death inside of you? You know, it all goes hand in hand. And I've said this in the QE Academy, on one of my Freestyle Fridays, and you know, and it's not to call anybody out. It's a simple question, and it's my philosophy. It's like, how can you be, you know, how can you be on a spiritual journey and want to continue to level up and get to that point of enlightenment and advocate, and not even just advocate, but support the killing of other living creatures for your own dietary, you know what I'm saying, construction. You know what I'm saying? So, and I know that's not easy, because the conditioning is deep, right? And the fact that we walk into, you know, we can walk, you know, past a restaurant and smell the fried chicken, and it's like, holy shit, that smells really good. Well, that's because of conditioning. Like, we weren't born smelling fried chicken like, oh shit, I want to eat that. No, it's just a conditioning. So I understand that's difficult and it's not easy. But in my opinion, like, it needs to be a part of the path, you know, just like meditating, just like reading.
But the food part is difficult also because of family. Like, when it comes to dinners, when it comes to stuff like that, like, you want at least some of them to be on the same page or something, you know, because it's hard to cook for different. Like, we did that for a while, you know, until everybody was on the same page. So that's difficult as well. So, you know, meditating, people can meditate on their own, and it's fine if you don't meditate, whatever. Right. But the food part, I think that has a lot to do with, like, okay, is everybody on the same page? Do we believe the same beliefs? Like, you know, because it'd be very hard for me to be vegan and then sit there and watch him eat steak. Right. You know what I mean? And, that would be difficult in any relationship, I think. Like,
no, I agree. And I think that comes down to, like, well, if you're talking about your relationship, then that's the conversation that needs to be had. Like, for instance, if, you know, you're Jewish and, you know, you're fucking practice Sikhism, right? Like, there's a conflict right there. There's a built-in conflict. Okay, when we have kids, are they going to be Jewish or are they going to be Sikh? Right? Okay. So, like, that's a conversation that needs to happen. Like, if you're vegan and he's you know, a meat eater, it's a conversation that needs to be had, because you're not going to be, you know, it's just not going to work. Eventually it's going to, one person's going to go one way. You know what I mean?
And you're going to get one restaurant, you're just going to blow up and be like, that's enough. I've seen you eat plenty of this, and that's enough, you know, like, it's just the builds up resentment of what you think of as far as your beliefs and stuff.
But I'll say this, in situations that have happened like that, at least that I've seen, most people go vegan. Like, when you have a meat eater and you have a vegetarian or meat eater and a vegan, most in a relationship, if it's going to work, most of the time the meat eater ends up going vegan, because they, you know, look, we're the best examples we can give anybody. We can throw out all the stats we want, we could talk all that shit, but like, when you're with somebody and you see how they change, and, you know, they're whether it's physically or emotionally or mentally and all those things, and you see the difference, that shit's contagious. Like, that's like, I want some of that, you know. Okay, we'll give up the fucking ribeyes, you know what I mean? And you'll see it happen. But within a family, that's a tough part, because I think we associate food with community and camaraderie and all those different things. So my family's been good about it, you know what I mean? Like, like, my mom, you know, she makes her arroz con gandule, and she'll make it without meat, just for us, because she knows we're coming. You know what I'm saying?
It sounds like arroz sin pollo.
That's what I was about to say too.
Yeah, you know, arroz con pollo, but we did arroz sin pollo, like, without the chicken.
Nice.
Yeah. You want some arroz sin pollo?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So that'll be good. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, they'll ask us, hey, you know, we're going to be cooking stuff. Do you want us to grill some vegetables or something like that. And now it's even more difficult for us because we're not really eating cooked food anymore. We're about 85% raw, right? So now it's just like, no, don't worry about it. We'll get something before we come or something, or we'll bring our own dish and it's cool. You know what I'm saying? The kicker is, and this is where the thick skin comes in, and being authentic is like the jokes. Like my family likes to, like they don't have no filter, right? So we'll go there and they'll just throw jokes about, they'll tell
You got an
jokes about
example?
us and shit. Okay, so we had a fight party this weekend, and it's not food related, but it's kind of
On the same lines?
yeah. So we had a fight party for the Canelo Triple G fight, and big turnout, like everybody came out to our house. And we have this, man, I wish I had it with me right now. It's like this ancient fucking horn looking thing, right? And my older brother, has to be the jokester, he's a Leo, he has to be the star of the show. That's just who he is, right? He comes in and he picks it up. He goes, man, what the fuck is this? Is this a horn or something like that? And of course, he's loud enough so everybody can hear him. I'm like, no, it's a speaker. Like you put your phone in it and it projects the sound out naturally, as opposed to having like, electromagnetic frequency, Bluetooth shit in your house. It's a speaker. He's like, get the fuck out of here. That shit don't work. Whatever. So I said, all right, try it. So he takes his phone and he puts it in it and it projects the sound. But he's like, man, I can't tell the difference. So then he pulls his phone out and you can hear the difference, right? And everybody's like, oh, okay. So then, he starts making jokes about, oh, was it changed from like 10 dB to 12 dB, whatever. So later on in the fight, something comes up where they're talking about calling somebody or something like that, and they brought up landlines or something. So he picks up the horn. He's like, "Oh no, I got my phone right here." He starts doing it. Then he starts using it as a megaphone and just kind of making fun of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mockery.
Basically. Yes. So little shit like that, you know what I mean? Or, the whole, would you guys bring some grass to eat? Stuff like that,
Yeah. I hear you.
But I just, it's funny now.
It's funny because they dish it out, but then like they don't really get it dished back to them.
Well, it's kind of like you've been to a comedy show before?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to a comedy show, right? And you have your comedian on stage and you have a crowd, right? And then you have one person who heckles the comedian. Don't matter what the heckler says. The comedian has the mic and he has the crowd. So that's going to lose that battle always. So it's similar. We're the hecklers. We're the different ones. So we're always in the minority. And that's where that whole group think and all that bullshit comes into play, because I can make a joke back, but it's only gonna relate to me and like 2 other people, while there's 30 other people that are
right
either offended by the joke, or they don't find humor in it because they're not, they don't understand it.
Yeah, what I think is funny about it too, like, because from an elevated standpoint, it's like, okay, I see you. Like, you're just showing me who you are. Like, I don't need to do anything, and it's comical when you look at it that way, because they're looking down at you, and you're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, you're showing me everything in terms of what you represent.
Yep, that happened to me, and I think I might have told you guys this on another time. Is I had a conversation with my brother about Hitler at dinner. And I just brought up some of my thoughts on it, just looking back in history and the research I've done. And he was, oh, you're out of your mind, blah 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 blah, you're crazy, you think all this crazy shit, and I took it really good, took it really well, I should say. But stuff like that, that's why the tribe that we have and our camaraderie and being able to talk about this stuff amongst ourselves so important, because we don't always get these opportunities outside of this,
right?
Because people look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then putting it out there is so that others who might feel the same way or feel like they're the black sheep or whatever know that they're not alone, and there's a lot of us who go through all of this, and that there's stages of this. And at first we get really upset when they say things to us, and then you have to eventually overcome that and then realize that it's them, not you. And it's like
Right.
really accepting yourself for where you are. Because at first you're kind of not accepting where you are if you allow the other person to manipulate your emotions, you know? So that's kind of like you're not really standing your ground in your authority, I should say.
Right.
So that's the process, right? That we go through, like all of us.
Yeah, and I have a question for you, but
Yeah. What's up?
unfortunately, I have to tell you a little bit of a story to
Yeah,
set the
go for
table
it.
for the
I've been
question.
talking way too damn much anyway.
No, and I'm a little afraid I'm gonna lose my track because that happens sometimes, you know. So just bear with me as
Yeah.
we can cut this out if we need to, right? So like my dad, right? We've been talking to him about this stuff because he listens, and you know he's inquisitive. He's like me. He asks. Well, he's a Virgo. You know, he likes to know the details and he likes to figure shit out. You know, we're talking to him this past weekend because we, you know, since COVID, we haven't really gone over there much. You know, so we've maybe been over there 3 times in the last like 2 years. So he's had time for all this information to kind of simmer, right? And so we're talking to him on Saturday. First, I hit him up for about an hour and a half talking about shit, and this is all like shit from food, from you know, hit like everything. Nothing's off limits. And he made an interesting comment. He's like, I don't know what the fuck to believe anymore, right? Because I think we all get to that point. And I think that, and that's, I guess my question is that I think it happens repetitively. I just think it happens at different intervals. So like for me right now, my thing is on the food path, it's like, you know, I'm into fitness, right?
Mhm.
And so the ingrained, you have to eat, the energy comes from your food is like, I believe, I think there's more to that, but I'm super frustrated because I can't break the programming because I'm not willing to sacrifice the, you know, the step it takes
Mhm.
because of all the work I've put in. But in reality, maybe that's the breakthrough I need. So my question to you is like, do you have something in your life that either you're experiencing now, most recently, or whatever, to where
Yeah.
you're like banging your head against the wall because you've like you want to believe it, but you can't break through. You know what I'm saying? You understand my
Yeah.
question?
And that you brought up an amazing point too that I want to get to as well is sometimes you don't know what to believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes on both ends. It's not just what the media and what the societal norms are. I mean, even on this side, even on the free thinking side, sometimes there's stuff that's outlandish or too far or you know, okay, maybe, but there's nothing backing it up. You know what I mean? So then you're in a place where it's like, okay, well, if some of this is wrong and some of this is wrong, then what's truly right? Right.
Right.
As far as like for something like that break, there's something that I might have to sacrifice to break through. It's food for me. So it's very similar. Different circumstances because you're in the, you know, you're in the fitness world. I'm not. Um, but it's the associations with food, like vacation. Like, you know, me and my wife like to travel. And one of the things we do when we used to travel is, you know, okay, what restaurants are we going to go to? You know what I mean? You're on a raw food, you only eat raw food. Restaurants isn't really a thing anymore.
What grocery store are we going to?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
really what it comes down to.
And you know, my wife, she's ahead of me on this. Like she doesn't really have that conditioning because like she's went on trips with some of her actually she recently went on a trip with a girlfriend. They went to the grocery store, they bought a bunch of fruit, and they like did shit on the vacation. Like food, like you can eliminate food from the vacation and still have an amazing time,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, so that's something, you know, and I have a tendency to eat when I'm out. Like if I'm doing work like this, you know what I'm saying, podcasting or shooting videos, documentaries, or whatever the case is, and I'm out, like I don't know if it's the energy I expend or just a conditioning thing where it's like I gotta go get some food. Like and spend money on food that I know I'm gonna fucking regret in about 3 hours. Right. You know, and it's a wall that I need to break through. That's
Yeah,
been
that
very,
loop.
very tough for me. It's been tough. I'm getting better, you know, I'm incrementally getting there, you know what I'm saying? But that's my biggest
That's
issue
like
right
coffee for me.
Yeah.
Because I got off
Coffee
of
was
it for
tough.
I got off of it for weeks or months or something, and then I went back, and
Yeah.
but I've been weaning, but I still went back.
Yeah, and see, that's like I know, we go from omnivores, I guess, for lack of a better term, to vegetarian to vegan, and it's like it doesn't stop there, right? Like we can move on to fruitarian, and I don't know what happens after fruitarian. What's next? Is it breatharian?
Breatharian.
Breatharian.
Yeah,
And
that's oof. Yeah.
and again, I mean, and I think about it, right? Like if we talk, like we talk about it, we talk about the programming, we talk about you know all the things that we talk about, but how deep is this programming? Because if vegetarian is a thing and vegan is a thing and fruitarian is a thing and we believe in energy and we understand what we understand, then doesn't breatharian make sense? Like, doesn't that seem like our body was really set up to like be breatharian from an electromagnetic standpoint? You feel me? You know what I'm
I
saying?
think we can choose to be either down here where we can eat and stuff, or we can choose to be up here where we can breathe and stuff.
Yeah, like I follow some dudes on Instagram that are doing breath. They're like
Breatharians.
they fast and all this shit for like days and weeks, and it's just I don't know, man. It blows my mind thinking that that's possible, but then it also makes me realize how ingrained I am, because that's the sign of how programmed you are when you can't contemplate something, right?
Yeah. Yep. When we're talking about breath and that aspect of it, like that's that I don't know that that's a level that I aspire to get to.
Right. We're like, we want to eat.
Yeah.
But like implementing it, like I'm like fasting is the benefits of fasting, like we're built to fast. Like that's, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes, well, in my philosophy, it comes down to this, like it's all energy. So like the less burden you put on your body, the more energy your body's going to have to heal itself and fix what it needs to fix. So the breath aspect, the fasting aspect is definitely a big part of that. 100% relying on that. I maybe I haven't studied enough into it to know. I mean, I'm sure there are people that operate on that level, but yeah, this lifetime probably not me.
He's like another one. I know.
No, I'm with you. I'm 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I know my limits.
And going back to that whole what people are asking so many questions, I don't know what to believe. That's when I came into the conversation. Like you went to your mom and I butt in and I started talking about meditation and discernment. Like when you meditate and the truth is revealed within you and you are able to tell between your intuition and your ego and all that stuff, it becomes easier to tell the difference between what is truth, what isn't, and decipher the puzzle pieces and collect them, because you can't really just ultimately sit there and go, oh, I don't know what to believe. You have to actually do the research, and I'm like, I can't do the research for you. That's where you come in and do the research. So there was a lot of talk about discernment when it came to, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, and it's funny, man, because he's bitching and he's like bullshit. Because I got my cussing from my dad, so he doesn't cuss as much. I cuss more than him now, but he used to be like every other word out of his mouth. But and I'm like, bro, I'm excited for you, man. Like you hit rock bottom. Like you're searching for something, which is a good thing.
He knows something's not right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you're expanding, like your consciousness is expanding, and this is just part of the fucking process.
Not to mention every time we go for dinner, we talk about the earth and stuff, and he's starting to like ask questions. And there were some seeds that made him go, huh? And I think that kind of opened up more questions,
That's a huge breakthrough, because I think sometimes we get so used to not getting responses from the people that are closest to us, and we automatically think, well, they think I'm crazy, or they don't believe in what I'm saying, or this, that, and the other. But those are just little deposits that we're putting in. And then all of a sudden you get a question like that, and you realize, okay, well, some of this is getting through.
Yeah.
Because every person has their own conditioning, their own environmental factors that have, ultimately created who they are, at this point, and they have to work through their own filter system. We were at that point. I mean, I can't tell you how many things when I was a deep Christian, I can't tell you how many things Deshaun would say to me.
Deep Christian.
Yeah, deep Chris. Like he'd say to me, and I just couldn't even fathom. I couldn't even like. There was just no fucking way it was true. But it sat there, and all subconsciously or consciously, I don't even fucking know. And ultimately, I went down that path and started reading and reading and reading, and it's like, okay, there's some validity to this,
Yeah. There's
So
that
you got to start
instant
somewhere.
block, that instant like
Oh,
wall
yeah.
that is put up. Like, no, it has to be this that's inside this box and nothing else. So as soon as you say anything outside of that, it's like,
Yeah,
no.
dude. Every time we talk about this, you've seen Moana, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
been a
remember? You know
minute,
the
been a minute,
song.
but
You know the song she sings when she gets called to the water. Like, can you hear it in your head? I can't. I can't. I'm
nah.
not even gonna try to
I was
sing
about to
that
say,
shit.
sing it for me.
Which one? What part? In the beginning?
Cause I know. Gee, man, don't do this to me.
Who's
Anyway,
yeah.
that if you remember Moana, like that movie is exactly what the fuck you guys are talking about, right?
Okay.
Like Moana is such a beautiful representation
Oh,
of that
because you can't go out
because like her
beyond the
dad,
reef.
yeah, her dad wants her in the box, stay in the box, stay in the
Yes.
box, but
Yeah.
she's
Called to more.
right. She's called to to go out to the water, which is that's her history, that's in her DNA, right? So it's like the same. I think we all have the same things, and we're called to do that. But you have to be called, and you have to be willing to listen, and actually have the courage to do some shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been planting seeds for years and years. So sometimes it just takes that right thing for one of those to like
Or it might not happen.
start.
It might not happen this lifetime
Yeah,
for
not
some people, Like there's people I know that they just don't want to put any energy into it. They're happy with living their life the way it is, the way it's constructed, and they're cool with it.
yeah.
Whatever's in their little box with whatever's in their tunnel vision, they're cool with.
Right.
Everything outside, as long as it's not affecting me, like right now, or my kids or something like that, I'm good. You know, and that's hey, that's their choice, and
Yeah, and
like I
sometimes for
said,
them it's hard for anything that's change related. Like change is difficult for them,
changes. Yeah, for sure. Changes. I mean, all of like you just talked about, Keith, you just talked about change, as far as the fitness world and diet and how they correlate and correspond to each other. I talked about it too. That's change. Um, Change is associated with conditioning too. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Well, I think it all has to do with the seasons, just because that's the cycles of life. And just like the seasons, we should detox every season and we should follow the seasons and just let go of shit right now because it's let go season. And also let go theme in October for the QE Academy.
I love
So yeah, so what were you gonna ask him earlier, or that you said that you're gonna ask him? Did you already ask him?
Sort of, yeah, not direct, but we talked about it.
Okay, cool. Cool. Tell me something. What is it that you see, or not see? Let's say dream, because that's what's on my shirt. What is it that you dream that would, like a vision of something that you dream or that you would love to achieve at some point?
That's a deep question. Oh shit. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, Joanna Crowder.
Dream, believe, achieve.
Right. Honestly, it's to really build a legacy of change in the world. That's something that can continue on when I'm gone. So, like I have a vision of creating something big, like some big beacon of light, whether it be um, some type of creative entity that can spread just the knowledge that we've all learned, the steps to to achieving oneness and truly realizing that we're connected, like something that a catalyst that can spread that as far as possible, but also something that my kids can take and continue. Like I don't want my kids to have to work for anybody, right? I want to create that empire. I want to create that legacy. Now it's their choice if they want to follow,
Right.
but I want to at least give them the opportunity. Like that's my dream, and to a point where, you know, I'm living somewhere in the hill, like somewhere in fucking Peru or something, you know, smoking weed and fucking just kicking back and eating fruits and
Some
loving life. And
ayahuasca trips.
yeah, maybe I write a book every few years or something, and you know. And
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
you
gonna
did.
lie, a little bit of the notoriety, you know, and this is a worldly thing, and this is a 3D thing, like a little bit of the notoriety, I'll admit a little ego shit, you know, like, yeah, I want to be known as somebody who's done that, you know. That's not the main thing, but it's part of it. You know what I mean? That's part of the motivation. Um, but yeah, that's the vision.
So
You know?
what are what is your philosophy you want to share with them? If, you know, if there's someone's watching and they're like, well, what is your legacy? What is your philosophy? Like what would you like to be known for? What message do you want to share? I know you have pillars.
Right. And then that's the main philosophy, is that, you know, to attain enlightenment. Like my philosophy is to look within yourself, to understand oneness, and then expand your spirituality to ultimately get to enlightenment, right? And the pillars are kind of how you get there. Um, but ultimately, I mean, I know I use this quote a lot, and it really is something. I'll probably get it tattooed on my neck or something one day or some shit. But it's like, if you can't trust everything, you have to question everything. Like, and that is the most, it's not necessarily a philosophy, it's more like a motto. But if you just take that one thing and literally question everything, you know, question what you're going to do today, what clothes you're going to put on, what food you're going to eat, who you're going to hang out with, what job you're going to take, what girl you're going to date, what boy you're going to date, all those different things. Like, you question everything you see, observe, see, sense, feel, all that. You're ultimately going to get to a point where you can make informed, conscious decisions on every aspect of your life,
I was
instead of
gonna
having
say
some other people do it for you.
conscious. It just sounds like someone that's conscious,
Yeah.
because if you're asking and you're seeking, you're conscious, you know?
Yeah, it's
Right.
like, yeah, you're basically self-programming, self-regulating.
Yes. And that goes back to, once again, what your dad said, like, I don't know what to believe anymore, right? Well, take it all in, all of it in, and like you said, when you meditate, it's much easier to take all that in and decide, okay, well, this is right,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because even in shit, even in like terrain model, for instance, which, you know, is a big passion of mine, there's different aspects of it. Like, some people believe in taking herbs. Some people say no, herbs are poison. You know, some people believe in even eating raw meat. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different aspects of terrain model. So you take all that information in, and you know, you meditate on it, you decipher it, and you come to your own conclusion.
Mm-hmm. And we're all different. So
Yes.
Yeah, man, I kind of live by the philosophy that, I mean, I believe it's like a universal truth, at least in my world, in my consciousness. And that's, you know, truth doesn't boast, right? Like,
Right.
truth doesn't feel the need to talk to say, no, this is poison, this is bad. Like, truth doesn't do that. Truth speaks the truth, and it
Right.
speaks it eloquently, right? And, you know, I think what's cool is that, you know, I think as you go through this, like, you're naturally called, like we talked about, two
Yep.
things. And, you know, if you're willing to open up and receive it, you know, that's when, you know, those gifts are given. But, you know, like, the hole is small. Like, you have to have passion, right? Like, you have to want it, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy, man, because I know, like, I think we're in similar spots in our journey. And it's like, you know, I've had glimpses, but even the glimpse, even just the glimpse, the drip of the glimpse that I felt is worth the full glass of water, or wherever that is. If it's a lake, if it's an ocean, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm curious to, like, hear if you know, if you've had sort of, if you get those glimpses, and if you do, what they're like, or if you had sort of this, like, you know, pineal gland explosion, if you will.
I have, and now it brings me back to your earlier question about um, some of the conditioning stopping you from truly going that extra step, right? So this kind of goes hand in hand with that, and I didn't remember it earlier, um, but I've had some pretty intense, deep meditations where I've gone all over the fucking place, right? And I remember I spent, and this is before I really knew what I was going to do with all this. I was just kind of exploring and stuff like that. So, you know, and that's part of one of my pillars, expanding your spirituality. So you want to kind of look at everything, learn, you know, try to learn everything. And my big thing was astral projection. Like I want to fucking astral project. So I bought books on it.
That's one too, man.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I'm doing all the tips and shit, right? So you know, one time, you know, I'm able to do it kind of locally. I'm able to astral project locally, right? So I'm like, okay, this is cool. So one night, I do it at night actually, and I think I was under the influence of some cannabis, and what's an indica, by the way. Indica's fuck, man. They take me to another world. I can't fuck with indica. But anyway, it was a gummy, and I started to I want to astral project, and I'm right there, and like there's like a hand that comes out to pull me, like to pull me into the projection, and I get scared, like really scared. And I pull back, and then I don't go. And then all of a sudden I start having all these visions of different things not in our realm, like a bunch of different, I mean, just spiders and animals and people and just shit that is just obviously not in the normal 3D realm. And that kind of put fear in me to try it again and to go back that route. Because of my conditioning and you know, scared of the unknown per se. Yeah. So that's kind of my, and I'm to that point still. Like I haven't really tried it again, but I really won't do a lot of indica, because when I do, I go so deep, I see shit, and I'm not ready for that yet.
I want to know, like, was the hand like huge, or was it like a normal size hand? Was it trying to grab you, or I mean,
No,
like, you know what I mean? Like, was it like bones and flesh and shit hanging off, or
well,
was it?
in some of the books I read, at least for the training that I've done on it, it's a conscious decision that you make if you're going to actually go into astral projection. So you have to make that conscious decision, and when you do, you know, a hand will come. It might not be for everybody, but at least from
Yeah, that was your way of delivering invitation.
Right. And I got scared. Like
yeah, to everybody's different, and that sounds a lot like that time that I was trying to do it. Remember? Have you heard that story before?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
We were he didn't know that I was like deep into trying to really do it, and like
yeah,
that I was like really studying it and like really trying. And one night I was like, here's the night, you know, I'm really gonna try. And he was asleep. And at this point, I think Isaac was he was like 3 or something. 4, yeah. He was young, and I had felt something kind of like I was almost there type of thing, right? And then all of a sudden I got scared and the power went out. All of a sudden Isaac comes next to me and he's like, I saw a demon. He's 3 years old and he's saying he saw a freaking demon. So at this point I'm like, okay, what? And when he's talking to me, he's like looking in the other direction, you know, like I saw, and I'm like right here and he's looking the other way. So that freaked me out. He got up and he was like, why do I feel this something weird? And at this point I'm like, let me tell you, babe. So what I was doing, and he's like, what? So you don't want to like tell me before you do this and like kind of mention this first, you know? And
yeah.
Because that's what scared me. I was like, why would he say that he feels this type of fear when he never feels any type of fear? And why would he feel fear? Why would he wake up feeling fear? And then it coincide with what I was doing. And here's what I say about that stuff. I think it correlates with where we are. So if we are holding on to a lot of fear and we start trying to do that because of our curiosity and stuff, we're going to open up fear. You know, if sense. We're at a place where we have kind of evolved past the fear and we've like overcome a lot of our fear and we then try to tap into that world, then we're in the higher place and we have that same resonating frequency. So it doesn't feel scary. but I think we
Yes.
feel scared because we still hold a lot of fear. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
kind of like a way to judge where we are. But a lot of us do it, get scared, and don't fucking come back to it. You know what I mean?
But now, yeah, now that we both said that shit, I want to try it again now.
Right,
Because I mean,
right.
I don't, now that I'm in a completely different place than when I first started that, I don't think I'd be scared. I guess it'll be a reality
It's
check in my head.
reprogramming your mind. Yeah, you just have to
Right.
reprogram your mind of like, setting your intentions, for example, like Michelle always
Yes.
says, right? Like setting an intention
Yes.
before doing that. Like, did you do that before? I don't know.
Nah, I didn't do that. I was just like, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we do all the same type of stuff. So,
Yeah,
lessons learned.
well, yes, thank you. Because I was gonna like that's the lesson, right? It's like and that's what lets me know that this shit is real is
Mhm.
because it's like so perfectly designed by God or whomever, whatever
Right.
word you want to attach to it, that you can't fake this shit, right?
No.
Like if you're living in darkness and you're trying to, there's a path you have to follow, you know, and only you can unlock the doors, right? Like only you.
And a
Only
lot of
you.
times you're going to be presented with that stuff that's going to be fearful. And so then that's where a lot of people take it and go, oh, this is, demonic or the devil or this and that. And they place a label on that when it's really their own fears that they're looking at
Mm-hmm.
and their own inner demons that they're looking at. And that's what they have to overcome so that eventually they can raise to the highest part of themselves, which is nothing but pure love.
Yep.
Yeah, and that leads me to my question, maybe the last one is, what keeps you going? Like what, because this journey's hard, man.
Yeah.
Like what drives you? Like what
Inspires you.
yeah, what keeps you doing this every day? Because it's a grind, man. I know how much you do and I know how hard you work and it's a fucking grind.
Because honestly, because I'm not where I envision myself to be yet. You know what I mean? It's like an everlasting process. Like we're all healing in process. There's still a lot of healing I have to do, but I think once again, we are the best examples, of anything ourselves personally, whether that's diet or whether that's whatever you're doing. Like do the example on yourself and you'll see. And like I've gotten myself to a point to where like I can honestly say nothing really bothers me. I don't, I don't get upset. I'm very even keel. I approach things in a very modest way. You know what I'm saying? I'm never too high, never too low. Um, and I've seen myself become that through this. And I want to take it, I want to keep taking it to different levels so people can see me as the example and see that there is a path to this. There is a way to do that. You don't have to live with the restraints of society or what they tell you you're going to be or need to be or want to be. Like you can like the world is boundless, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's my motivation. It really is. Yes, my family too, I want them to see that. And my wife, she's made tremendous fucking strides in her journey, like tremendous. But that's what it's about. Like that's why I just feel like that's what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? And if
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
not doing
100%.
it, then I'm not living anymore. You know what I mean? That's what I feel. Like I feel like
You're
to the day I'm
creating a life you love.
yeah, there you go. Like if like honestly, I think like if I'll be doing this in some form or fashion until I transition straight up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel. What about y'all? That's a great question. So I'm gonna throw it back on
What was the question?
you.
Like why do you do what you do?
Right.
Like
What inspires me?
why do you put all the time and energy into what you do?
Because when I see the ripple effect, when I see that if I have control over making a choice and that choice is in the right direction and that right direction causes a ripple effect, and then later on I see that those choices that I made helped all these people and they come back around and I see that and I had control over that, it's like I can change people's lives by changing mine. That's the whole concept. Like change yourself, change the world. And because there's so much that I still need to change, like I'm constantly freaking trying to change because there's a lot of improvements we all need to make. And yes, we have like certain aspects, certain natal charts that tell us how we are, but ultimately, like for you, for example, like you're Libra, Libran, you're
Librarian. You're a librarian.
Librarian, yeah.
you're freaking Libra. And so maybe your life was very unbalanced before, and now you have walked this way to find that balance as like a Libra does. And, you know, in all of our ways and all of our, you know, signs, for example, maybe I'm trying to find a certain something in what a Leo is, you know, the inner confidence or the whatever Leo aspects are. At this moment, I'm like blanking out, but
Yeah.
which I don't know how, because it's
the
Leo.
aspects of a queen.
Yeah. And so it's like playing that, like, I need to fill that role. And it's like, sometimes, am I acting queen like? No, not really. And it's like, I need those improvements. It's constant improvement. So when I improve myself and I see that it's making a change in others, I can't help but continue to do that. You know, I can't help but meditate more and eat right more, because I know it's setting an example for others.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You?
The same. I mean, like I told her,
Ditto.
I mean, and this is just my life as an example, because you know I'm touchy feely, right? Like I need to see it and experience it. So
Right.
you know, from a coaching aspect at the gym that I coach at, I mean, I've been there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe going on 6, but it's been a minute, right? And you know, I was telling her the other day, it's like I don't take that role like lightly, right? Like if I'm a coach, that means I'm a coach, and I live what I say. I do as I, you know, whatever I'm telling you, I do the same thing, if not more, right? And so, you know, I mean, again, I don't ever boast about anything. That's just not my style. But people pay attention. You know what I mean? They pay attention when you're someone like you, someone like Joanna, when you're teaching something and you're speaking about something. They pay attention to how you live your life if they have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I was telling her, it's like, you know, I don't take that shit lightly. And at the same time, I'm very cognizant of everything that I do. You know what I mean? My body language, like, you know, how I present things. Like just because I
To
know
fit that role.
because I know that, you know, just like us, man, you know, I don't mean to sound, you know, Christian, but you know, Satan's everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's there. The judgment that you're going to get is because you slip, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people will hold you to a higher standard.
Right.
So it's like for me, that's my why, is that, you know, it's because I want to walk the walk, and whatever that means, you know, and I want to be 100% to the best of my ability. We all make mistakes, but I want to walk that walk to the nth degree. And whenever I'm tested, you know, you pass. And to me, that's, you know, when people see that and experience that, it empowers them to do the same thing in their lives, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we're all saying the same thing, just
Pretty
in a different
much.
way.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
want to be authentic, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we still are like peeling layers, you know? So it's like
Always.
getting to know who you truly are, and at the same time having to show everybody that, you know, each layer, and then accept the fact, okay, I'm not this layer anymore. I'm this one today.
Right. Right.
Right. And like, if you don't accept, I accept it. I need to accept it first and foremost before anybody else. But it's like, that's kind of what it's about. Well, okay, we've talked a lot, because we always do, because it's so fun.
I didn't even
Right.
scratch the surface.
I know. It's like, we'll need a part 2. But
100.
but is there anything that you would like to say as far as what you're doing? I know you're doing a lot for Akasha Flicks. You want to mention
Right.
anything about that? And you know, what do you have
Yeah.
going on, you know, this last season, or however you call it?
Fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Season.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my life
Same
is
thing.
season.
Yeah, season.
Right. No, I appreciate that. Akasha Flicks, you know, as you two know, you two are creators on there. Telling everybody out there, check it out. We have over 250 videos now. And that's, you know, when I say videos, that's exclusive podcasts, that is spiritually guided videos, that is
Uncensored.
education, yeah, definitely uncensored. Educational videos, master classes, as well as a documentary I'm releasing on November 11th that I'm really excited about. So really, I mean, at the end of the day, Akasha Flicks is high vibrational content. Like, we spend our lives consuming low vibrational stuff. So everybody out there listening, ask yourself this question. When you go home and you turn on Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max, what type of content are you consuming? Now, each one of those platforms has high vibrational content. You got to search for it. But what are you watching on those platforms? And if it's low vibrational, understand that that energy that's emitted from those shows and movies that you're watching, like that becomes a part of your energy as well. So we created a streaming service that's 100% high vibrational content. So whatever you watch, you're learning something, you're leveling up, you're listening to conversations like the conversation we just had right here. Like, stuff, the little bits and pieces that you can pick out of there and kind of put into your, your backpack per se, on your journey, on your path to enlightenment, and grow from. You know what I'm saying? Whatever show you watch, out of the 250 and all the new shows that we have coming out, like, you're going to pick something up from it and grow from. So that's ultimately what Akasha Flix is. QE Academy. I'm kind of revamping my Freestyle Friday. So on Fridays, I'm going to be just dropping content in the QE Academy, whether it is, some type of free thinking or truth seeking video or class that I'm doing, or whether it's, content I found somewhere else that I want to share with everybody. But free thinking, truth seeking, digging beneath the surface, and really just spreading truth to everybody who's looking to grow in the QE Academy as well.
Yeah. And for both Akasha Flix and the QE Academy, I just wanted to say that you didn't mention, yes, people can watch Netflix. Yes, people can watch Hulu and all that stuff, but can they connect with the people that are on there? And the answer is no. And the difference here is that not only are you connecting, leaving comments, talking on Akasha Flix, but we also have, our group exclusive membership on
Yes.
Facebook, so that we can all talk, we can get ideas, we can have questions, and whatever questions you have, we then have videos. So it's very interactive. And at the same time, the QE Academy is a community. So the difference between all of that is that you're not only getting high vibe stuff, you're getting a community, and you're getting people that are on that same level that are ready to support at any moment.
Hey, look, man, I don't know, you don't know this, but we started a movement last night, and we can call it the Akasha Flix Challenge. We call it that.
Shit,
Maybe come
okay.
up with something different. Let me
What do
tell you
you
what
mean?
that's
Like
about.
that. Okay.
Do I know
Let me tell you,
this?
no, you don't know this. Let me tell you what this is.
Oh God.
Akasha Flix Challenge is this. Pick a day, any day, and you cut all electronics out of your life. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when I say electronics, I mean, video games, YouTube, TV, programming, right?
Oh, that.
You cut it out for 7 days. Okay. Find something else to do. Read a book, play some games, walk, exercise, do something. All right. And then when you come back to your electronics, this is where Akasha Flix comes into play. You sign up for Akasha Flix, and you introduce only Akasha Flix content into your life for the next 7 days. And then you come back and assess where you were and where you've been, and then see if that's not meant.
The Akasha
For your
Flix
life.
Challenge.
The Akasha Flix Challenge.
I love it.
Fucking genius, bro. Wow.
Yeah.
That's life-changing, bro.
I'm speechless.
We're on day one. So
no,
we
I
just
forgot that
started.
we did that.
No. We need to put this in
like
in the
something
fucking, in the group and on social media. Like, we need to make this a thing, bro.
Yes.
Like, for real.
No, seriously,
Well,
like change your life. Like,
so what happened?
Or your money back. Like,
listen to this shit. This is what happened.
Okay.
Isaac comes down, and Isaac, it's been Virgo season. Right. So you got me and you got him, and you got all this criticism for the last 30 days. So he comes down, he sits on the couch, and I play a lot of video games. That's like, I for some reason it just satisfies something in my brain, man. Anyway, he comes down and he sits next to me and Joanna. He's like, "Why don't y'all cut the damn TV off?" We're like, "Why are you coming down here bringing all this negativity, man?" He's like, "Cut the shit off. Just stop. Have you ever just go without looking at your phone, go without watching TV for like a week? Can you do that?" And we're like, "Man, get the fuck out of here." And we
I'm
just
like,
keep
go back
watching
upstairs.
TV, right?
Why are you coming down here and bothering us while we're in the he turned off. We were in the middle of a movie and he turned it off.
Oh, wow.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and he's basically like, "Y'all are pathetic." Is his energy, you know what I mean? And so I'm like,
because he doesn't have a phone, he doesn't watch TV, so he's
That was about 4 or 5 days ago. So then, I looked at him and I said, "Were you serious about that?" I said, "I'm down. Let's do it. Let's cut the TV off. I won't play video games. I won't watch. We won't watch any television unless it's like you can listen to music. If I'm listening to like Abraham Hicks or something, that's fine.
Right.
But I'm not watching TV for the purpose of dead-minded entertainment.
Yes. Right.
And so it's like that. We're on starting day 2 or ending day 2, and like already I can tell a difference, right? So I'm excited to see what day 7 looks like, and then I'm excited to see what it's like to integrate it back
with Akasha.
But integrate it back, yeah.
Holy shit,
with like Akasha.
Genius, bro.
So I'm just gonna watch Akasha for that's what we're gonna watch when we eat at night.
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna watch Akasha then for a whole week, and then tell do a hey, we did this for a week, we did this, we did the Akasha flicks. This is how challenge. This is how boom, 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 all the differences that it made in our lives. Are you going to do the Akasha Flicks challenge? Pass it on, bro. That's something.
That's.
I love it.
Speechless.
I love it.
That's fucking amazing. Wow.
Let's send it there.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, we need to put it into work. All right, cool.
Yes.
Another thing to do.
Yeah, I know, right?
Look, off the record between me and you please, you claim that. Claim that and run with it. You don't have to bring me up, man. Please. It's not necessary. We'll be the one. I'll be more than happy to share my experience. But you don't have to say you take.
Yeah, we'll give you a testimonial. We'll do our testimonial of a Akasha Flicks challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if you do like a whole like a giveaway, like you get a month free or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna
for those that do the Akasha Flicks challenge and they enter to win it.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to think of something big for that as well. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And to have the testimonials too, that'll be huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that's where you could see how your life changes. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's funny too, because man, she's like Joanna all the time. She's like, I thought we didn't watch commercials anymore. Because like all you see is pharmaceutical ads, man.
That's it.
I'm like, how in the fuck
don't
do
take
people
this if you get this.
And we don't have cable. That's the thing. That this is like on YouTube something or whatever. It's like it's infiltrating everywhere.
Yep.
So yeah, part of that's like, yeah, man, we gotta and it, it brings you down, man. Seeing those commercials just brings you down.
Then you just get pissy. And that's what he said. He's like, most of the time it's just ads and you're just pissy about them. So why are you watching it? And it's like, yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Straight up.
Our kids, man, they teach us a lot of shit.
Man, that's inspiring. That is inspiring. That's what's up. You guys did good, man.
Yeah.
You guys did good.
Thank you. So thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us and everything that you do. And we're really grateful for you. So we appreciate you being here. We'll have to have you on again.
For sure. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
So let's peace out, guys. Peace.